Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Máté Szücs. It's wonderful to have you with us at this, the third National Concert Hall International Master Course that we are holding here in Dublin online. Máté, you are an award-winning chamber musician, soloist, orchestral player, teacher. You have an exceptional career. And we are so delighted that you have been teaching already yesterday, a wonderful master course, and today you're going to present a seminar. It is called The Role of Breathing in the Process of Creating a Conscious Work of Art, based on selected Hungarian viola compositions. And as the name might suggest, for all of those who have studied on university level, it sounds a little bit like a PhD title. And having spoken with Máté this morning, I have found out that that is exactly what it is. Unusually for an artist of the renown and caliber of Máté to, in the middle of their career, and as a family father as well, take time to do a 2-year PhD is exceptional, and I'm absolutely in awe. I don't know where you find the time, Máté. I'm so excited that you're going to talk to us about this, about what you have described earlier to me as something you see as vitally important for violists, the idea of healing, the idea of starting out as a musician in the best of health, I assume both mentally and physically. Thank you so very much for being here today. I'm very excited. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much for this presentation, and I will then start with my with a summary of my doctoral dissertation, which you mentioned. It's a little bit a short version, of course, but I hope that you will enjoy. I made some documents, so I will read it for you because it was already a few time ago and it was not in this language. So I hope you will be able to understand and enjoy it. In my opinion, the process of breathing is an organic phenomenon, but inseparable from the conscious artistic process of the instrumentalist musician. The main motive for writing this work was a series of questions that had arisen from certain misunderstandings in professional musical training. My responses come, therefore, from many years of musical and pedagogical experience, synthesizing the technical aspects of viola playing and the emotional sense of creating music in its most appropriate artistic form. This dissertation, with the exception of the obvious summary section, consists 14 chapters and is arranged in the following order. Now I will shortly summarize and then I will explain in detail. In addition to chapter 1, I attempt to give a full complete answers to my questions. In chapter 2 and 5, my attention focuses on natural processes and phenomena such as breathing, movement, and symmetry, and then turns to the historical and cultural background of breathing, returning finally to breathing as a phenomenon, but in a psychological dimension. In chapter 4 includes content on the role of air in instrumental play, while the following presents the psychology of respiration and the relationship between psychological aspects in different breathing techniques and traditions. In chapter 6, I present the relationship between music and nature and the elementary role of breathing in musical creation. This is the context of historical change. This also in the context of historical change. In chapter 7, I examine the relationship between breathing and the body during viola playing. And with this, I also summarize the first part of my dissertation, which aims to present breathing in terms of artistic creativity. In the next 5 chapters, I present the process of artistic creation on selected Hungarian musical works. Today, I will also show you, by the way, a video which I made. You will see it's a very technical video. I made it with Masin, which is measuring my breathing, measuring my pulse, and in the same time, you also see me playing and you see my movements. So that's, I made it actually for the jury as a proof, and I will present one from the 5 Hungarian pieces that is in the dissertation. And in the last 2 chapters after that, section 13 and 14, I share my experiences of working with breathing in different musical situations. And now I will present the content of my dissertation more thoroughly. Just a moment. It's a little bit a problem of turning the page. Okay, just give me a second. Somehow it's not working, this one. So then I have to take another one. So I prompted these worrying questions in the first chapter. Why don't I feel as free and as good at viola playing as I do at Tai Chi exercises? What system would provide me with a better connection between viola and music? How can I play viola without stress and pain? How can I use my breathing and body so that they participate in the process of conscious artistic creation? After searching for answers to these questions for many years, my experience as a musician and teacher has shown that breathing is the best medium by which my body and viola playing can become one. By consciously using my breathing, I became more efficient on stage. I have successfully applied the soothing effect of conscious breathing during rehearsals and performances as a soloist, chamber musician, and orchestra musician. In chapter 2, I explained the problem of naturally uniting my instrument with my body. Thanks to the processes taking place in nature, I observed and analyzed my play, which was based on the traditional instrumental technique. Eventually, over the years, I managed to create a renewed viola technique based on breathing. Playing string instrument is not based on breathing at the first glance, unlike wind instruments. However, in my opinion, breathing is a catalyst for movements for all musicians. Just like the composer's breathing, as the connection between pen and her or his feelings, breathing is a key element of an art of work. In chapter 3, I describe the historical background of respiration and the psychological and anatomical details of this process in order to better understand and control this wonderful thing that connects our inner and outer world. Unfortunately, nowadays, artists playing string instruments often do not pay enough attention to proper breathing while making music, which results in their body functions becoming uncontrollable and which, combined with stress, can easily lead to serious problems. Properly applied conscious breathing is a very effective tool in such a situation, contributing both to stress relief and better self-control, all a part of artistic and creative processes. Chapter 4 is a section where I describe the role of breathing in the relationship between posture and movement and their combination during instrumental playing. Attitude is important in any physical activity, which is especially true when playing an instrument. Only the right attitude allows for optimal freedom of movement, thus creating the right technique for the instrument. Posture and breathing are highly interdependent, so they are very related. Improper posture of a spine and chest can impede proper use of the breathing muscle. In addition, proper breathing technique can also have a positive effect on posture. Since the viola players sit in orchestras or chamber music groups a lot, a proper posture is very important to them. This is the for the posture during play, this is very important, that the movement and proper coordination of the arms and body movement and the consequent creation of the technique for the instrument. This is important to prevent pain and overload. So when we are holding our body well, we can breathe well and everything is working better. Movement is a tool of human expression, as we know. Viola playing is a movement that eventually turns into sound. In this way, the movement is actually transforming into music. Of course, during the movements of the viola playing, our focus should be primarily on producing sounds as efficiently and with as little effort as possible. The goal of instrumental play is to perform the most accurate and efficient movements with our body, which is properly balanced, with a properly balanced posture and optimally tensed muscles. And what can help with this complex coordination is breathing. Proper use of breathing can change the properties of movement. This is especially important for dancers and actors, but musicians can also benefit from it. The movement of viola playing can have different properties, and thus different sound effects can be achieved depending on the movement of the breathing cycle. That is to say, with the proper use of breathing, the properties of the movement can be changed, and thus various sound effects can be achieved. Proper breathing and viola playing can interact particularly effectively. There is a connection between a bowing and breathing. So when we are using a down bow, the right arm opens and thus the chest also. So we inhale. Conscious movement of the chest are and deepening the expression of emotions during playing. So the way you breathe is emotional, can be emotional, and that helps the musical expression during playing. Opening or closing the chest, depending on the movement, so up or down bow, of the also of the inhalation and exhalation, and the movements of the arm. So as you see, there are many connections between different things. And also, if there is a lack of coordination of breathing and the poor sound, which is as a result, is also unfortunately a connection. For example, if the bowing starts shortly before breathing begins, first I do the movement and I don't think about my breathing before. The flexibility and fluency of breathing should be promoted to ensure that it adapts optimally to a particular phrase or piece of music. It depends, among other things, on the direction of the phrase and musical intentions, as well as on the degree of emotional involvement. In the chapter 5, in the next chapter, I present the relationship between breathing and the musician's consciousness in different breathing techniques. The emotions that dominate an individual's life definitely shape her or his breathing habits. Another important factor that affects an individual breathing style is the strong interaction between breathing and posture. The artists on stage are exposed to stressful situations and are under great pressure. This situation can result in bad breathing and can even cause a block of the breathing flow. So some people, when they play and are very excited or stressed, they even stop breathing meanwhile playing. If this phenomenon occurs regularly and is not treated, it can permanently disrupt the breathing rhythm and can negatively affect the quality of music making at last. On the other hand, the breathing curve that I have examined with the help of a polygraph, which will come later in this presentation, clearly calms and the proponent down as I begin to focus my attention on synchronizing my breathing and my movement during viola playing. Concentrating the mind on this automatically results in a greater harmony of breathing. Listening to music can also have a big impact on our breathing. For most people, there is a relationship between the breathing curve and the rhythm of the music. The respiration curves thus reflects the inner emotional world of the test subjects. Music can also have a harmonizing effect on breathing. This has been confirmed by most of test subjects. Pneumatic measurements by musicians playing string instruments showed a strong chest activity during respiration, which was clearly related to the emotional interpretation of the piece they played, and which was not present during the purely technical practice. Breathing thus also greatly affects the concentration and the confidence of musicians. Accordingly to Eastern wisdom, breathing is a spiritual practice designed to achieve complete silence, surrender, and to give up all will. Well, this condition also supports music, obviously. In the rest of this chapter, I present 4 selected breathing schools. All 4 breathing methods are equally suitable for musicians because with these techniques, we can make our breathing more efficient while making music. Some of these methods are already taught in music schools, but primarily for singers and actors. In my opinion, the awareness of body and breathing can open new doors for instrumental professionals because breathing and music are connected in many ways, many more ways than we know. The relationship between breathing and music is detailed in chapter 6. Here I describe how music was inspired by nature and only became audible through breathing. The first music came from imitation of nature. The initial sounds later became a system, a melody, and then later people created the first instruments. At this point, I explain the elementary role of breathing in musical creation. As part of the transformation of history, I also present the relationship between music and breathing. There were different correlations between singing, language, dance, and instrumental music, between thinking, feeling, and the movement in different ages, which also had the different effects on the breathing, posture, and movement of people who practiced music. That explains actually why we don't think yet with the modern holding breathing. It was hundreds of years ago when our instruments started, and compared to that, we left. We didn't have the chance somehow to reform that or to adjust that to the new techniques and the new holdings of the instrument. In chapter 7, I speak about the physiology of viola. I describe in detail my own experience with the use of breathing while viola playing. This is one of the key chapter for me. In my opinion, the starting point for an even more efficient and a perfect way of viola playing is conscious interaction with the autonomic nerve system of our body. In order to properly shape sound and consistent, conscious creativity, we need to derive all our movements and postures from the autonomic nerve system that is necessary to preserve life. These intuitive features work unconsciously in the background. Movements during viola playing should not interfere with these intuitive functions, so it is advisable to consciously adapt these movements to them. To do this, we must first recognize what movements we are talking about. These are those using natural body weight. The life energy provided by the law of gravity is free and usable. So if we can use this, we don't have to produce sound through muscle work and pressure. During viola playing, we must place both hands on the instrument with the natural weight of our arms. In my experience, if we want the viola to sound beautifully and freely, we need to perform these 5 steps based on the symmetry of our body. So step 1, put the bow on the required place by reaching the appropriate amount of air in the lungs. So for example, if I want to start from the frog of the bow, first I need to exhale, and by this I give space to the movement which is preparing the place. It's the same if I want to start at the top of the bow, I need to first inhale, blow off my body with air, and as a result, my chest opens, my arm opens without no effort. And so I'm already reaching the point of the start, the desired start. So second step, place the bow on the desired part of the string, for example, at the start of the bow, and then land the weight of both arms on the string. So for me, it's very important that once you reach the place, you relax your shoulder, you relax your hands and arms, and you feel the gravity. And by this, your muscles and your body is relaxed and flexible, ready to move. The third step from the 5 is optional. In case that you are playing music with vibrato, using vibrato, then you should start your vibrato now and don't stop before the bow starts. And step 4 is prepare the bowing by starting to breathe. So that means if you are at exhaled at the frog, then you start to inhale, chest opens, arms opens, and as a result, step 5 comes. Our chest deforms, opens in this case, our hands start to move, and the bowing starts automatically down. So I'm not thinking first, I need to do a down bow. I think first, if I want to do a down bow, the first I think about how physically my body works. I inhale, and you see, everything opens. And this is equal to a down bow, at least to a start of a down bow. I explain a bit more in detail now. In case of a down bow, we start to inhale, our chest starts to grow, so our hands start to move away from each other, and as a result, our bow starts to move automatically towards the top. In case of an up bow, we are full of air now, and we start to exhale, our chest starts to narrow, so our hands start to get closer to each other, and as a result, our bow starts to move automatically towards the frog, up bow. It is important to maintain point 2 and 3 after the start of our bowing to keep our arm weight continuously down during the playing of the piece and to keep our hands hanging and continue our vibrato as long as the piece requires it. Why is that? Because after my belief, there is the sound producing has 2 basic elements: hand weight, so there is a weight on the bow and on the instrument, which without weight there is no not possible to put together things. By the weight, it's getting on it. The natural weight without pressing, just the weight of your arms. And the other very important thing is to create sound, is to move this weight aside by breathing. So after these 2 things, you are able to create a sound, which is free and natural because the engine of the movement is based on your breathing. After presenting breathing, as the basic of artistic creativity. In the next chapter, actually next 5 chapters, I will describe the creative process of selected Hungarian compositions and their interpretation by breathing. And now I will ask Colleen to start a short video from one of these 5 selected pieces. It's the name of this piece is Arioso from Ferenc Farkas, a fantastic Hungarian composer. A work is melodic and beautiful in contrast to other previous works, which today I will not present. A reflection of the composer's love. So what you will see on the video now is, now you see the video already. You see me playing, so you can completely observe the movement that I'm doing. I'm opening, closing the chest by breathing. So down bow and up bow. Above me, you see actually the actual music, so you can follow up what I'm playing. Next to me, you see a bigger frame, and in this bigger frame, you see the pneumatic measurements. The 2 blue signs upstairs is here, and then here more down, two measuring belt, which is measuring the opening and closing of my lungs. And totally downstairs, you see a little red sign, that is my pulsation. Above that, you can see the sound waves. So let's listen together now this short piece, and then let's talk about it. Thank you very much. Thank you for the assistant, dear Colleen. So, as you saw, I was really looking for scientific research to really see how our body is related to playing. And this was one of the presentation of the 5 which I recorded. As you see, as you could follow a little bit, the pulsation in different emotional parts of the piece were changing. Just like the breathing was also slowing down or getting faster during during the different part of the music. And the best part is that meanwhile I play like that, I'm not getting tensed, or I'm not getting out of air, choking, you know. I am I feel completely comfortable, just like without viola. This was always, and this is always my goal, to create a kind of technique which is using the three different parts of our human uh, uh, existence. So we have the brain, which is deciding things and planning things, making structures, understanding things. We have the limbic system here, which is for the emotions. It's just in between the autonomic nerve system and the brain. The limbic system is kind of the center. So, and without understanding or willing to understand the uncontrolled automatic system and our emotions, cutting it off because it's an easier thing to cut off things, then we have only 33% at maximum to operate. And my idea is actually to use not only maximum 33% of brain, which is obviously working somehow, but it's not satisfying, I think, for most of us, but also try to understand how to control breathing, how to control our autonomic system, which is anyway working even we don't want it. Luckily, it's helping us. It's helping us to keep us alive. So I think I will go on now, and I will speak about a very important subject now. In so chapter 13, after I spoke about in detail, and you see with the video explained from the pieces that I have selected to my dissertation, um, I focused on the role of breathing when I played as a soloist, or a member of chamber music ensemble, or a member of orchestra musician. In my opinion, all the three types of playing modes are based on breathing, but have a different hierarchy, excuse me. While in a solo piece, the activities of the conductor and the orchestra are primarily determined by the soloist breathing, the individual opinion of each member of a chamber music ensemble is decisive and in interpreting the music, especially when a particular musician plays a solo. While playing in an orchestra, ideally, the musicians take over the conductor's breathing and sing their own with it. Therefore, it is very likely that all musicians together and simultaneously may experience similar physical and mental processes while playing music. Therefore, in this type of music making, breathing is the common denominator that controls, coordinates, and thus creates the unity of performance. To play a concert as a soloist requires a well thought out plan, tactics, and an excellent physical condition. In addition to manage stress, the musician has other important responsibilities: to carry out the work faithfully by overcoming technical difficulties. A musical message that reflects the intentions of the composer, and balance, confidence, and a positive visual experience, which, however, must definitely serve the music. Also, coordination of the soloists with the accompanying orchestra and conductor, and ensuring the correct acoustic and emotional balance during the performance of the given work. How can you play? How can you pay attention to everything and control this all at once? Um, by direct breathing, of course. By mastering and synchronizing breaths, we will be able to slowly control all this very complex system and coordinate these many external and internal factors. What is the breathing problem in chamber music and orchestra music? Now, this is very interesting. True chamber music is built on equality because every sound has its own meaning and every function has its own importance. This democratic work begins with the development of shared musical breathing based on the actual breathing technique of each member of the ensemble. Breathing together not only guarantees a perfect team play, but also the coherence of musical expression and plays an essential role in shaping the ensemble. By breathing, the individual sentences of the work intertwine and support each other, thus creating the whole. Once we have understood and mastered these breathing techniques as soloists and chamber musicians, now we can try to understand probably the most difficult degree of musical activity, after my opinion, playing in a symphonic orchestra. All, all the instruments in the orchestra must be compatible, open to common breathing, thus guaranteeing a common musical experience. Openness in this case means an overall simultaneous focus on music and the orchestra, which is nonetheless able to change constantly. Extremely complicated, right? The experienced conductor breathes in such a way that even the musician furthest from her or him can feel unity with her or him regardless of distance. To do this, the conductor must be aware of these limitations and possibilities of the particular instruments as well as its acoustics. Concluding this part of my dissertation, I would like to um, em- emphasize that in all the three methods of play, breathing is the connecting and coordinating medium. So I consider it necessary to use it for musical realization. The question of the role of inspiration in the educational process has yet to be briefly presented in the last chapter, which I will do now. My pedagogical experience has shown that explaining the importance of breathing to students leads to a wonderful result, namely to an easier viola playing and to the solution or elimination of many technical and musical problems. When learning string instruments, the emphasis is mainly on achieving good technique. Until recently, there has been an opinion that technique and expression are two completely separate areas in instrument playing that also need to be acquired separately, starting with technique. The technique of playing an instrument should not be completely chosen separately from music, I believe. Passages or even individual notes can be shaped musically with specific sound characteristics and dynamics on the particular string and the expression associated with it. All this is regulated by breathing. Breathing connects the player's movement with the music one would like to express. So when we play purely technical, we should not leave out all that system, I believe, because then it will be very hard to put it back and to make it compatible. At the end of my work, I would like to emphasize um, that the most important goal of my life is to serve classical music because, in my opinion, it is the purification of the human soul and psyche that indirectly liberates, develops, and emphasizes empathy in us and for each other. As a result, my work is an ongoing research that I hope will renew the play of viola and other string instruments, if possible, identify its new perspectives and opportunities for further development. Thanks to my knowledge of newly discovered and existing techniques, I want to reduce and eventually eliminate the distance between instrument and player. Breathing is one of the pillars and driving forces of nature. So I believe the artistic creativity should also be based on breathing, which is based on symmetrical movements. The technique I have developed comes from the law of nature that already exists. That is, it tries to deliberately imitate the instinct in the musical work. I see breathing primarily as a part of the autonomous nerve system, and I use it also as such. In my technique, innovation is an attempt to consciously control the subconscious and visceral processes in my body to change delayed or indifferent instinctive functions, directing and supporting them without losing their natural visceral identity. I try to unite, coordinate, and sync the tangled and often blocking conscious and instinctive networks that work side by side when I play the viola. The resulting harmonious operation, even in stressful situations, allows for calm, balanced, and stable breathing. Because with synchronizing our limbic and autonomic nerve system, uh, our bodies will not detect the danger. When here feels good, green light, no danger, no block. In such an idyllic state, the musician can finally play with a balanced body. This is what I hope for everybody. And let's work on this together with all your questions. I think music comes from human emotions, and this unique technique will hopefully overcome the obstacles and difficulties caused by often uncoordinated ways that have become habit forming in our bodies. This is this so that nothing will interfere with the full expression of these emotions. Using the described technique, we can consciously adapt our breathing to the feelings expressed in the music towards the better service of classical music. This as a technique, this as the technique becomes one of the principal tools of artistic creativity, more effectively reflecting the intentions of the composers. Making breathing an essential element in the technique of viola and similar string instruments offers new opportunities to anyone interested in research and creation of music. So that's about the summary of my doctoral dissertation. And if you have any question, I am more than happy to answer those. So if Colleen or Gwendolyn is ready for me, no questions. All right. Probably it's a very early stage of presentation, but anyhow, thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much for staying with me, and though my imperfect English, following me until the end. I hope that with all the discovery that I have made, I can give you ideas, anything which can help you with your personal problems and strugglings. I believe everybody has different ones, but if we keep on communicating, if we keep on looking for each other and caring, then I think the world has a very nice future, even though all the difficulties that appears these days. We will have a future as musicians and as humans. So thank you very much for your attention, and goodbye.